Today I'm in Belgravia in London, outside the independent perfume shop Les Senteurs, and I'm here to meet a fascinating entrepreneur, Lizzie Ostrom, who I've known for a few years, and she had an idea to do interesting events around scents and perfume, and she's turned it now into a full-time business. So let's find out how she did it. So, nice to be here with you today,
Hello,
Lizzie.
John.
Hello.
Hi.
But I should also say hello to your alter ego. Can you please explain to me who your alter ego is?
My alter ego, yes. So I go by the name Odette Toilette, which is my sort of stage name for when I'm doing my events in perfume.
Right. So it's spelled Odette Toilette. And you do fascinating stuff. Tell us, describe in your words what you do, what your business is.
Well, my business, it's basically a bit of a one-stop shop for new ideas in fragrance. So I do lots of events about scent, a bit like you'd get a wine expert doing wine tasting events. I do that for fragrance, loads of different themed nights at various different venues. And off the back of that, I do corporate events that involve scent and perfume. Right. I write about scent and perfume. So basically anything to do with smell, come here. Yeah.
And when you started, I was interested because I've known you for a while. And when you what was your very first action when you thought, I'm going to start an event that's around scent? I mean, what led you to think that, and what did you do first?
So in a way, at the time it felt incredibly random, but now I look back, it made sense. Yeah. So what happened was I was working in events freelance doing marketing, and a friend of mine said, oh, I know this new venue that's opening in East London and they're looking for quirky nights, and maybe the company you're working for wants to put something on. And perfume, it's not like I'd been planning a perfume business or indeed perfume events, but perfume had been something I'd been obsessed by for years, never really compartmentalised it in the world of work. But I was just cooking one evening and she'd said that, and I sort of thought, a perfume event but where it's really fun and creative and unusual. And that was the moment, and I just got this kind of I got this fizz about it, is the best way I can describe it, like this sort of, you know, like, yes, this is good. And then I sort of said to my boyfriend, what do you think? And he said, oh yeah, that's interesting. So that was the start of it, really. But I'm still nearly chickened out of doing it. I don't know what, they'd given me a date and I booked it in, and then I left it for a while, and then I thought, oh my God, I've got to do a perfume event. And I called up the venue and I said, no, I was due to be on in February. Do you think we could delay it? I need a bit more time. And they said, no, well, you're in. We've put you in the brochure. So then I had this kind of, you know, oh God moment, but it made me do it. And I sort of thought, how am I going to make this happen? And I had an idea of how I wanted people to feel at the event. And then from there, well, what am I going to do to create that experience and pull it into place? Yeah.
So what was this first event? Was this the Scratch and Sniff?
My first ever Scratch and Sniff. And in fact, when I was doing my whole, how am I going to do this, I called up this perfume shop. This is Les Senteurs. And it's pretty much the place in London if you want to find unusual perfumes.
Because you actually didn't have enough perfumes to do the event.
No.
So rather than just going, oh, well, that's it, I can't do it, you thought, I'll find someone who's got lots of perfumes.
Yes, and would they be interested in sampling and providing things for the event in return? And, you know, they'll get their name out there to this audience. And the guys here were really behind it. I think what I didn't know at the time is that the fragrance industry was incredibly conservative, and there aren't that many people in it. And so I didn't realise that by coming along and doing this, just how crazy it would be seen and how everyone would start talking about it. I just thought they won't notice me. But I think the guys here thought, oh, this is different, we want to get behind it. So in a way I had a lot of goodwill in helping to make it happen.
And what was the Scratch and Sniff thing?
So it wasn't Scratch and Sniff cards. Lots of people call me up still and say, can you make me some stickers? No. I called it Scratch and Sniff because I wanted to come up with a kind of irreverent event about smell. So not the kind of event where you feel like there's someone trying to flog you the latest release, or you know, you're feeling under pressure, but to create a place where people could play and learn about perfume. So I think for the very first event we did a kind of whistle-stop tour through the 20th century. which has kind of come back since as a sort of concept, and we had different perfumes and we're playing music and looking at fashion and film and contextualizing them. And then we gave people a load of samples and gave them challenges on different ways to describe the perfumes. So they weren't allowed to talk about notes or ingredients. We asked them to talk about characters or fictional identities, and so people were kind of having a glass of wine, meeting new people, and they were also, you know, sniffing some really strange and interesting perfumes.
So you did a whole series of events like that, but you've also done all sorts of other interesting things. Do you want to give me a smattering of the kind of projects you've done?
So from that very first event, what happened after there is I did the night, and loads of people came, and I had a great time. I thought, this is brilliant. And then I didn't do anything for 4 months or so because I was kind of it was fermenting. And then that autumn I launched a series of events, and each one had a different theme. So we've done things like teen nostalgia nights and perfume. We did one called Valley of the Lost Perfumes, which was all these kind of obscure, forgotten scents. Scent Speakeasy, which was about banned and illicit perfume. So they started building, and then as the word spread, I then started doing corporate events and private bookings off the back of that. But also, you know, you get festivals or museums and other institutions who want to programme something unusual. So then they started kind of getting through that whole network as well.
So this is now your full-time business, and so you left what you were doing before?
And I was freelancing before, which did make things easier because I could kind of turn down that and turn up as there was demand. So that I kind of acknowledged that was probably an easier way of doing that than if I'd been in a full-time job. But I think the thing is, you don't have to just quit everything and suddenly do this. You can gently phase it in, and then it just gets to the point where I think I realised I could do it as a business when you know, I was getting so many calls and emails every day, and you think, well, I can't possibly do this and the other stuff. I have to be available for all these potential leads.
That's a good point in which to jump, isn't it? It's always a bit scary because often you're not making quite enough from the new thing. You know, and you're wondering whether it's going to work and all that. But that's exciting as well.
It is, and it is a scary time, but it's really exciting as well. And by that point I knew that there was something in it for sure, and that it was I saw it as an investment rather than something I was being stupid.
So have you had loads of press and
Yes, there have been. So the way that the press has developed is every time I did an event, it was quite easy to get press in a way. So, you know, getting into Time Out or the Londonist or those going out guides helped. And the key thing there is that I was with a venue and they wanted to PR it. So that really helped. I didn't have to do the whole contacting journalists thing. That was almost for free. But also, you know, you don't really, if you don't have to sell it, you know it's right and that you'll get press. So as long as I had a great name or an unusual theme or a hook, you could be pretty certain that it would get some press and that would lead on to more profile type stuff. Because
people often say, well, how can I how can I get more traffic to my site, how can I get press and so on. But if you do something interesting enough and that people really enjoy as well, then that makes it relatively easy, in fact.
And it helped that what I was doing was, you know, it's almost like I was bringing together these things that hadn't been done before, and because it was novel, I think this idea of novelty is really important with press, because rather than it's another supper club or it's another one of these where you have to work quite hard to differentiate it. It was, well, it's a sort of interactive scent experience. Well, we haven't had one of these. What is this? So we've got to talk about it.
And I think a book is a good illustration there, because you've got a book coming out, right? What's it called?
It's called A Century of Scents. And it's going to be 100 little mini essays of perfumes that define the last century. So anything from links to fine fragrances and in between.
I like the way you're very eclectic. You've had Have you featured high karate in your evenings? Yeah. So like these really cheesy perfumes. Some people might be too young to remember high karate.
Yeah.
But you've got the really fine stuff and some of the brilliant independent things from Les Senteurs here, but they stock here. And then you've got the links and whatever.
And celebrity perfumes. I've used them all. That's why they're fun, because they're unexpected and you don't know what you're going to get.
So when's that coming out?
It's coming out next autumn.
Yeah.
So autumn 2015, and I'm in the middle of writing it now. And what's the nice thing about the book is that the subject matter is really, it's so close to the events I'm doing anyway. Yeah. So while I'm researching the book, it's a big outlay, but I'm able to use that content for an event, and then I use an event for a book, so it all starts to circle around again, which makes it less of a kind of, oh my God, I've got to write a book, and it's more of an investment in the whole business.
That's a really important point, because I think a lot of people watching who are scanners, who like lots of interests, lots of ideas. If you do completely unrelated ideas, then you just have to do a lot more work. You can do that. Whereas if they fit together, you could get lots of variety, because you're writing a book, you're doing all sorts of one-off projects, you're running events, and all sorts of other things. And they all fit together. And like you say, the content for the book overlaps with the content for the events. And that, which is what I find as well. So it's a good way of having variety in what you do, but in a way that they're all locked together and supporting each other. So you were not you were involved in marketing of events, but you weren't a professional perfume person. So, but this is just a lifelong passion. Yeah. And what's the story of when you first discovered the magic of perfume and of scent? Well,
the story of the discovery, it went very far back. I was really young, and the first perfume memory I have is that I'd had a party, and everyone gives you presents. I don't know what else I was given, but the only one I remember was I was given a bottle of sort of Tinkerbell cologne. Yeah. Childhood perfume for children I'm now not so sure about, but I got this and I thought brilliant, and I was sort of entranced by it and started splashing it on everywhere, and because I didn't know how to use it, I just sort of willy-nilly put a bit on here, there, and I think it didn't go too well. So my mum said, no, we'll take this one away, and I never saw it again, and I felt so deprived that she's taken it from me, which is funny, because my mum then was really, she loves her perfume, and she was really one of the key reasons I got into it. She'd show me her perfumes and we'd chat about them while I brushed my teeth. So it did go back far, but I'd never ever thought, you do your career service at school and university. Never did I go, I want to work in perfume. And truth be told, I wouldn't want to work in perfume, because most of the jobs in this industry, if you want to go into regulation, there's loads of jobs there, but I don't want to work in perfume regulation. and there aren't openings. You don't just, it's corporate. You've got your... So I suppose I created my job, and I think a lot of people can do that if they don't like an industry as it is, but want to be related. You can kind of be one of the people on the outskirts connecting it, as long as you can make money from it, and that industry then wants your services. I think that's quite a nice way of going about it.
That's an interesting point, because the people who revolutionise an industry often come from outside of it. Yeah. So if you look at what happened in the music industry, they were all scrabbling around suing their own listeners. And Apple came in and just took all their money. And now they have to work with Apple. Yeah. And same with publishers. It wasn't a publisher who came up with the Kindle. It was Amazon who did it. And that seems to be the pattern, because everyone within the industry thinks in too strict and narrow a way and wants to preserve their current business model. So, I mean, I'm not comparing you to being that destructive or revolutionary, but you are doing things like you're supporting Les Senteurs and independent scent, and broadening the appeal of it and broadening the understanding of it, which I think is fantastic.
And one of the questions I get asked all the time, the most common question is, where did you, apart from kind of how do you make money, is where did you train? Yeah. What's your authority for doing this? And I never pretend. I say I don't have any training and I don't care, and it doesn't really matter. Because if I was there to be a perfumer and I was making all sorts of schlock, then yes, it would be a problem. But for what I'm doing, yes, I need lots of knowledge, but I don't need to do a course for that. No. And I think feeling entitled to be in a space and playing in a space is important, because it's the fact I don't have training and didn't get into this mindset that makes me useful for people.
I think that's really true, and because I know a lot of people get stuck in that. They think, well, I better go and do a training course first. So that's a really important point.
Yeah.
So a lot of people watching this who are on my programs are often at the very early stage, that moment before you even booked the book club, and something's going around your head, or you're thinking maybe I'll do this, but it's a bit scary, and you've got other work to do and so on. Do you have any advice for them that's going to be helpful?
Yes. Well, the first thing is, when I did my first event, and I know you talk a lot about testing and doing one thing and not worrying about the long term. And absolutely, when I did my first event, I didn't have in any way an expectation that this would turn into anything, but I wanted to do a thing, and it didn't matter if it was just a hobby. And I made it very small, and the feel good factor I got from doing that blasted me through. So, and the other thing is, it took a random friend of a friend to say there's a venue, and that, you know, often someone will come to you with something, and then you'll get that, oh, there's something here. So when that happens, do it, and don't back out, rather than thinking, oh, I've got to set this up and do that. Someone else will set up the opportunity, and you've got to slide in there with the thing, and you'll know if it fits.